We're going to get started, everybody. Please stand for the pledge. That way, to the left.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The roll call, please.
Mr. Arcuri? Mr. Bova?
Here.
Mr. Brodsky?
Here.
Mr. Coyne?
Here.
Mr. Jalea?
Here.
Mark Ford?
Present.
Mitch Ford?
Here.
Mr. Mahardy? Mr. Rotolo?
Here.
Ms. Sesney? Here. Mr. Williams? And Mr. Zweig?
Here. Thank you. You have in your packet the July 20, 2015 draft minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I approve.
Second, thanks, Denny. Any comments, corrections, deletions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I abstain.
And one abstention. Pat, you'll lead us to the discussion on bonding.
Yep, thank you. As most people know, interest rates have been low for quite a long time now, and the Federal Reserve met just last week and decided to keep rates down for a little longer. How long, we're not sure. Because the rates are so low, we have some opportunity to save some money on 2006 or 2008 bonds. It was brought to our attention by our financial advisor, Rick McCarthy of Environmental Capital, that some of those bond series that are out there are eligible for refinancing and are at higher interest rates. We're looking at about little under $10 million in the 2008 bonds, a little over $15 million in the 2006 bonds. Combined, it's right about $25 million that we could refinance and save over the life of that debt, approximately $1.9 million, which would also generate, in an average across the years, between $130,000 and $140,000 savings in the budget on annual debt service. On September 18th, the Water Finance Authority met and voted to proceed with the refinancing and hired the team of consultants that helps to put that together, including the underwriter, the underwriters council, et cetera, et cetera. So we're moving ahead with that. The question then that has come up along the way is regarding our capital improvement program. The next round of borrowing based on projects that we have slated, we probably would have been doing in the spring, maybe 6 months from now. But we took a look at it and decided that we could either wait and have the risk of rates going up and duplicate closing costs of having to do a whole separate bond sale in the spring, 6 months from now, or move those bonds up and incorporate the new borrowing into the financing we're doing now, taking advantage of the lower interest rates. It turns out that even though we'd be paying a little bit of extra interest on those bonds before we actually need them, that is offset by not duplicating the closing costs. It's offset even further if we lock in a lower interest rate versus risking a higher interest rate by next March or April if the Fed decides to raise the rates. And so based on that, the Capital Improvements Committee met last week and reviewed the punch list of projects. What we have right now over the next 2 years are projects that Dick can prepare to discuss, but it's about $4.1 million of projects. And then what we have on top of that is the fact that in our last 2 or 3 budget cycles, to avoid raising rates inordinately, we pared down what we call our capital reserve that's in our regular budget. That's the $750,000 that we were funding with ongoing revenues. That was reduced to $350,000. So the question is, if we want everything to be done in accordance with the program, either for the upcoming budget cycle, we would need to restore that $350,000 up to the $750,000 to cover everything, or we could build the next 2 years worth of that difference into this bond series, which would be about $800,000, which would move from 4.1 to 4.9, roughly $5 million that we could build into this next bond issue. And what that would do is allow us 2 years to begin restoring the capital cash reserve up to $750,000 or higher, given the news that we received last month of the manufacturing plant coming, which has about a 22-month ramp-up schedule. Right now, they're hoping to have product going out the door by the third quarter, or the fourth quarter rather, of 2017. And so the timing might just be right that we will see additional revenues coming in for just beyond this 2-year horizon. So if we were to build that into a borrowing, it would take pressure off the rates for the next 2 years until we actually have additional revenue coming in. And so it was discussed at the capital program. Our recommendation from the staff level is that we move forward with a request to the Water Finance Authority to build an extra $5 million into the $25 million of refinancing. So that would be a total bond issue of $30 million. And the debt service, as I say, we would trim about $130,000 to $140,000, depending on the year, off the annual budget of debt service on the refinancing alone, which would be roughly half of the new debt service on the proposed $5 million borrowing for the next 2 capital improvement cycles. So that's where we're at right now, and if this board decides to do that, the next step would be then that you would, by virtue of agreeing, authorize me to send a memorandum to the Water Finance Authority as a formal request from this board to build, to quote, the new money, the new construction money, into the bond series with the refinancing. So that's where we're at, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to discuss it.
Capital Projects Committee recommends the board approve this proposal.
Well, I move that we follow the staff recommendation.
I second it.
Any further discussion, or any discussion? Bruce?
I'm just sorry I missed the meeting and I didn't know that was part of it, otherwise I would have canceled another meeting.
Oh,
I am not convinced that we need to borrow $5 million. I don't, I'm not, I mean, yes, but I'm not voting for it. I can't support more bonding without having a better sense of how we can continue to use rate money. I don't like borrowing.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
We gotta see hands so we can count this. And anybody opposed?
I'm opposed, and I am upset that I had no idea what was on this agenda, and did not get that information, and had no opportunity to do any research or provide an alternative to the board. That is, I'm sorry.
The resolution passed. Thank you. I said,
Now I'll tell you where I'm going to be coming on the budget, and you're going to hear a lot.
well, when we get to the project, Bruce, you'll have your opportunity.
It would be nice to have an opportunity before we get this.
Next item on our agenda is the second quarter investment statement ending 6/30/2015. Are you gonna do that, Jim?
Yes. In your packet, in your binders, is a statement showing the second quarter of our calendar year ending June 30th. It actually shows the March 31st balances and the June 30th balances of our investments, and it shows income and expense. Under public authorities law, we're required to provide a statement to you on a quarterly basis and have you review it and approve it.
Any questions for Jim regarding this? A motion to approve? Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Jim, is there, I don't think there was a finance committee meeting, but is there anything you want to cover?
I believe in your binders is, we actually have 2 months, since we didn't meet prior month, 2 months of monthly financial reports. Generally speaking, consumption is down year-to-date as of the end of August, 3 million cubic feet, which isn't, compared to prior years, we're still, not too bad. Our revenues are up above budget. Our cash is where we anticipated. It's actually down because we just made a large payment for our activated carbon. Our next large payment, in addition to our normal monthly payouts, is our retirement payment, which is estimated at about $150,000. So we're on track with our cash, and we're just hoping that we can get some of our receivables down, because those are climbing over time.
Any questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim. Executive Director's report.
thank you. We just received and I mean just received, a draft report on the study that was done for water regionalization for Western Oneida County, done by GHD. This is the one we received the state grant for. So we have not gone through that report yet, but there will be a meeting scheduled within the next 2 weeks or so with GHD Engineering and the other parties that we're party to, which includes representatives from Rome, Charlotte, Verona, Verona, and us. Did I leave anybody else? No. Once we have that meeting, we'll go through the report, we'll have a full analysis of what's in it. There are a number of alternatives presented in it. They are ranked in the report. We really have not gone through it yet, so I can't tell you at this point what it says or where it's going, but we will have that meeting in the next 2 weeks. So the process of this grant study is winding down, and the report is almost complete. And once it's finalized, obviously, you will all receive it, and we'll discuss what's in it, what any next steps might be if they perhaps include us. The other thing I want to mention too is that, I think it was at the last board meeting, we mentioned that there was a state audit going on from the State Controller's Office. That audit is almost complete, and the auditor who was in with us over the last bunch of weeks will be emailing to each of you individually a draft report of what will be in the final audit report. That draft is being developed right now internally through their department, so I don't know exactly when it's going to be sent to any of us, but I would imagine it'll be sometime in the next few weeks. So you may be receiving an email with a rather large attachment, maybe a smaller attachment, I don't really know. But the process moving forward is that we will have an opportunity to review it and discuss it and respond in writing before it's a final report and gets released to the public. But I would ask, of course, that everybody treat it as a draft, which means that it is considered confidential. It's not for public circulation. It is a draft. And so the purpose of it is to let everybody know where they're going with it, what issues they see, and allow us an opportunity to respond to it before it becomes public. So as I say, I don't know exactly when you'll be receiving it, but she did request everybody's email addresses, and I imagine it may be forthcoming, perhaps over the next 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how long it takes them internally to finish reviewing it. So please be on the lookout for it. The last thing I want to mention is that with our budget timetable, we now need to pass the budget by the end of October, and we're getting close to that deadline. The normal monthly meeting of October would be Monday the 19th. We may find that it might be better to move it to the following Monday, the 26th, in order to allow time for a public hearing, but also the required 10-day notice ahead of that hearing, and we'll have to get that notice out in the paper. So it means that the next step is what we'll be looking for a date for a budget workshop. And Jim and his team and I have been meeting with our departments. We're through all of the draft budgets that have been submitted to us, and Jim is compiling that now, and we'll have a pretty clear picture of what it looks like in time for a budget workshop, and we'll be able to get materials out there way in advance of the workshop so that we can come in and have some discussion on it. I don't know, Jim, if you have a particular time frame in mind for how much more time you need to finish putting it together?
If we had the workshop next week, I think we would be fine. We could get it together. I mean, we would have to sit down, obviously, and have a little discussion, but...
Yeah. Okay, then maybe what we'll do is it easier, Sue, to circulate a date to everybody? Does it, people prefer a noon time or a 5 o'clock one? Is there a preference?
I prefer. Personally.
Noon?
Noon's fine.
Okay, we can do a noon meeting and bring a lunch in. And Jim, you mentioned too that the audit committee has to review some RFPs.
Well, I was talking with Bruce before, and that may be a little early for us. If we did, I was thinking maybe the second budget workshop, we could incorporate it. Not sure when the second budget workshop would be,
Okay.
but we just got our proposals today, so it takes a little time to evaluate them.
And I do need at least 5 days' notice to get, I have to
Okay.
notice these
For the budget
meetings now.
workshop?
Yeah, even for the budget
Yeah.
workshop.
Yeah.
Mhm. So I just need to know in advance. Okay.
Can you say
All right.
you approve the budget?
You want to do it next week?
By the end of October.
Next week, Jim? Is that what you said?
Yeah, next week for the budget workshop is fine.
Do you have a date? Okay.
Does Tuesday work?
Tuesday would be fine.
29?
That's the 29th?
Okay, you can I'll send an email out tomorrow. Everyone want to check their schedule and
Okay,
let me know. Okay.
all right. That's all I have for now, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Pat? Thank you, Pat. Any old business? Any new business? We need a motion to go into executive session to discuss current
Motion
litigation.
made.
Second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.